Okay. Well, we welcome you here tonight, and we are here at St. Andrew's Parish Hall. It is April 28th, 2016, and I'm Pat, and we are so fortunate to get to visit with Peewee and Marilyn Schulz tonight of Seward County. And this all started when we started doing research this winter for the Tallgrass Prairie tours. And I started to realize some of the magnificent, wonderful stories that we have and our history in Seward County. And so I'm going to be so impertinent here, guys, because I want to get your ages. And I want to put them down here for record because I think that's such a cool part of the story. Marilyn, I'm so sorry. How old are you today?
Today 83.
And you will be 84.
In July.
In July. A good month around here in Seward County. And Peewee, how old are you?
88.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I've got that. And then I want to know, Marilyn, where were you born?
Where?
Where?
Seward. In Seward.
In Seward County. Or in Seward?
In Seward.
Okay, in Seward. You grew up, though, over by...
I grew up in Seward. And
That's right.
in the summer, we would go to Beaver Crossing and stay at the Water Gardens for 2 or 3 months until school started again.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
then we would come back to Seward to go to school.
Okay, we're going to get back to that because that's such an important and interesting part to the story. And Peewee, where did you grow up? Where were you born and where did you
Born
grow up?
in Sword here.
In Seward?
Yeah.
Okay.
We lived out 2 miles west of Goner.
West of Goner?
West of Goner,
Okay, all righty. And this is something that I want to kind of set a little bit for the record. Where did your folks come from? Were they from Seward County? Where did their move from, or where did their folks move from?
Germany.
Directly
Yeah.
from Germany.
Yeah, they give, this is quite a story. Grandpa Schulz and his 3 brothers came to Sword, and 3 of them went to Kansas, western Kansas, and homesteaded there for 3 years. They bought cattle and drove cattle to North Platte and Kansas City and what's the town north of St. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
St. Joe, and then it was so dry and hot there, windy, I guess, that they just dried out. They gave up their homestead, came back, and then they went back to Germany for a couple of years.
Oh, really?
That's an interesting story. Grandpa was on the ship, ready to come back here a year later, and then he told the captain of the ship, "Hold the ship a minute, I'm going to go get Ida," his wife, Grandma. And so he went. Grandma was working in a cafe. They were, after 2 years in high school there, they go into different trades. They sewed for 1 year, and then they baked for a year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so he went and got Ida, and she didn't have time to bring much stuff along off the mountain. And so she said, Grandma said, well, it's quite a journey across the water. I thought they said 3 months coming across the water on the ship.
Okay.
So we had the captain marry us, he said. But then when we got to Bloomington, Illinois, we really got married in the church.
All righty then. Okay. And Marilyn, where did your folks come from?
They were born in Seward County.
In Seward County, okay. And then if you went back one more generation,
They were...
German?
No, they were mixed.
European?
Yeah, my mother was, her mother was what they called Pennsylvania Dutch. She came from Iowa.
That's my history too.
And my dad's background was Scotch-Irish.
Yeah. And then I want to go back because I just think when I'm reading some of the history all the time, I think it's so interesting. If you can think back when you maybe were 5 to 10 years old, what did you have for supper? Well, you lived in town here, so you were kind of the fancy folk. Yeah.
I don't remember. My mother was a very good cook. After my dad died, she ran the family businesses. But we were home every noon from school for lunch, and then she had supper prepared for us.
All right. And what did you have for supper when you were a real little kid?
Well, we had a lot of, depends on whether we stopped at Grandma's house on the way home from school or not. If it looked a little bit rainy, well, we'd stop at Grandma's. There was just a half a mile from school, otherwise we had to go another 2 miles. And if the weather looked bad, well, you don't want to take a chance to be out. So we'd have eierkuchen. You know what that is?
No.
That's eggs kind of with lettuce and stuff. And eierkuchen, very tasty little dish over there at Grandma's. And otherwise, we had Dad made a lot of milk soup.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was what he was doing the cooking. Why it would be milk soup.
Milk soup.
Yeah,
Onions, potatoes.
I don't know why the recipe.
Egg.
Egg and milk.
Egg and milk.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then what did your folks do for a living?
They farm.
They farmed. Yeah. And then I think we're getting to the fun part here. What did your folks do, Marilyn?
Well, my dad came back from the war, and in
World War One.
yes,
Okay.
in 1922 or so, he started a Smiley chicken hatchery here in Seward, and then in the middle 20s, he started the water gardens
Okay.
at Beaver Crossing
Now, how long did you folks run the hatchery?
till the middle 40s.
So you guys, that hatchery, that kept running, that operated for over 20, 25 years then.
Mm-hmm.
And during the same time then, did he go out to Beaver Crossing and start the water gardens in?
Kind of middle 20s.
Middle 20s. And the reason that he started water gardens is because of those, I've heard them called bubbling springs.
Artesian wells.
Artesian wells. Artesian wells.
I don't know why he started them. One thing he began doing was raising trout.
Okay.
And in what we called the packing house, there was one room that had troughs that they had the trout in. And Mother said the water wasn't cold enough to raise the trout, but she said their eggs were just like pink pearls. They were so pretty.
Oh. Now, did he have a market then? Did he ship them out?
That I don't know.
Okay.
One thing they did ship out were the bullfrog lakes.
They raised bullfrogs then too?
Well, they just were there naturally.
Oh, for heavens. Oh, because of all the water, of course. So he harvested the bullfrogs.
Yeah.
They would take a bushel basket. They shoot the bullfrogs and with a rifle, and they take them home and they get the frog legs. They're pretty good sized frog legs. They take a bushel basket, a layer of ice, and then a layer of bullfrog legs, and then another layer of ice. They take a bushel of frog legs to Cornhusker in Lincoln twice a week. And there was a truck going to Lincoln every year from Beaver, that merchandise.
In the
Another
20s.
way they caught the bullfrogs was just with a fishing pole with a little red flannel on the hook.
Okay.
And the frogs would jump for
Sure.
the red, and they'd catch them that way.
Oh my goodness. And then did they raise goldfish? I thought I'd heard that they raised goldfish
Yes,
too.
I think they did for a while,
Okay.
but it wasn't very productive.
It
I don't
wasn't
think.
very profitable. And then water lilies?
Water lilies.
And I see they had a whole brochure of products that came out of Beaver Crossing. That's pretty remarkable. Can you tell me something that I don't think maybe your your dad did, but was there also a canning factory in Beaver Crossing?
That was
And
during,
what did it can or handle or process?
that was during the war, and it was tomatoes.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
And there was a family called Steiner that ran it,
Okay,
and that was downtown.
okay. And so they processed, and they shipped out canned
Yeah,
tomatoes.
they called it the garden spot of the world down there, with the water running and down in the valley there, very productive soil and stuff. The garden, sweet corn and tomatoes, I don't know how many tomatoes they would send out of there every week. They just
Okay,
can the whole bunch of them. A lot of people were growing tomatoes down there.
so they grew tomatoes and and then,
Yep, I don't know what else they did, can down there.
Tomatoes was the only thing I heard, so I don't know.
what else did and you have a lot of pictures of them, and that's just great, and we will record those pictures too. There's an old picture, do you remember family or neighbors talking about that? At one time they said that a lot of people came from the surrounding area. There was a big swimming pool that they kind of kept aside for swimming, and somebody had remarked, I saw someplace that on one Sunday afternoon there was over 800 and 900 people.
I think that was in the early 1900s,
Okay,
and it was still being used when I was a child, but it was fed by the artesian wells.
did they ever put little canoes on there?
Yeah, and then they had a pavilion out in the center of the pond, swimming pool, that, well, didn't your dad play there?
Yeah,
They would roll a band out there, and they would play Sunday afternoons. That was before I was born, I think.
Okay,
It was after the First World War.
after First World War.
They said the bullfrogs out, they couldn't hear the music because bullfrogs were so loud. So,
Oh my stars.
that was that loud. This was just a little quarter of a mile from where the water gardens are.
Okay,
They're just-
okay.
Water gardens are south of the swimming pool, the park there.
If I was to go into Beaver Crossing today, and I was to go off the interstate and go south on the Beaver Crossing Road, and would turn left and go into town, somewhere around there, where was it? Was it west of town or east of town or south?
About a mile east, but you would go through into town,
Mm-hmm.
and what would it be like?
So the east end of the
Yeah,
Main Street, then go south like half a mile.
Okay, all
Right.
right,
Where it's a dead end road,
okay,
and then you go east from there.
all right. Now, and then are we pretty close to the Nebraska City cutoff to the Oregon Trail out there then too?
I don't know.
Can you remember, do you, because we've been tracking that too.
Can't tell you where that is. I think
Okay.
we could see, just from our place, which is 2.5 miles west of Schooner, there was a wagon trail, just a quarter of a mile south, or north of our place.
Really?
Still in the prairie, you could see there was a wagon trail.
The
I don't
trail.
know which
It probably was, because that was at Nebraska City cutoff, and they said that sometimes during a day, over 600 teams of oxen would come through southern Seward County. And that makes a wide trail that lasts a while, doesn't it?
Well, and the Blue River is down there, so they probably wanted to camp by the river.
Yeah. Well, Beaver Crossing got its name because that was the crossing, that was the place where they could get across that part of the Blue River. Kathleen, can you think of that we might want to ask here to add into this?
Well, I'm wondering, the water gardens were they an attraction for people to come and buy products, or were they kind of like
They
a
shipped
place?
all over the United
Okay.
States.
Okay.
And my dad, they also had water lilies, and they had irises and peonies. And my dad would cross-pollinate the irises himself to get a new,
To get a hybrid.
and my mother said the money he made in the hatchery, he put it all back into the water gardens.
And so then the demise of the water gardens came because of irrigation, didn't it?
Oh, yes.
That finished it all off.
And
I
did it
don't
come
think I have one of
quickly,
the
or was it a
irises.
gradual decline of the water table? Was it just one day, we don't have any more water, or was it more of a,
I
Well,
think
it
it was,
was, when the irrigation came in.
yeah, but it was a gradual loss of water.
Yeah, the reason that the water was always down there, but when the irrigation wells, the deeper they went with the irrigation wells, they tapped into that body of water, and then it
The level
took the
drops.
pressure off of wasn't any flowing well water till fall again, and then it's like irrigation wells started running again, I think.
What happened to your dad's airplane?
He wrecked it.
And that's another story that I've heard over and over again, that there were more airplanes in haystacks, where they would run into a haystack out here. But he walked away. He was
I don't know,
okay.
I think somebody else was flying it,
Yeah.
I don't think your dad wrecked it, but.
I have a journal he kept when he was in training. He was in training at Riverside, California,
Okay.
for
and
World War II or World War
World
One?
War World War One.
Wow.
And in the journal, he would write, well, flew out over the ocean,
Lost 6 points,
well, he was grounded again, he
Yeah,
said.
so, yeah.
So evidently the pilots weren't supposed to fly over
They
the
weren't
ocean.
supposed to do that.
So he was grounded again, he said.
Oh. Did your dad know any Culvers from Milford?
That I don't know.
Because we have to dig into that. One of the founding people of Milford was a Culver family. And one of the Culver boys was also in the
How do
military.
you spell that?
Culver. Maybe we need to check a little bit, because he was in the flying unit in the United States in what was the beginning of the Air Force, I imagine,
World War One.
at World War One. So
Well,
they
my
might
dad-
have known each other.
Dad raised chickens and pigeons and so forth, and he had homing pigeons.
No.
And I think that's why they wanted him in the well, they didn't call it the Air Force at
Right.
that time. So he would train their pigeons, because they used so many of those homing pigeons in World War One to transport messages. And then he took a test and passed it to become a pilot then.
Yeah, he might mention he went through 10 grades of school,
Mm-hmm.
and then when he took the test for the pilot, to get into pilot school, he had 10 grades of schooling, and the rest of the other 14 that qualified all were college graduates. And he topped all of them.
My goodness, isn't that a wonderful history?
See, he died when I was only 6, so I really have just learned a lot of this from the rest of the family.
Really? Okay. Okay.
He was a gifted Toastmaster speaker. Anybody that had something they needed a Toastmaster speaker for, well, he was called upon to do it. In his little log book, he had the part of the story, is I tell you the punchlines of the story in there, and it's pretty hard to figure out just what the story was all about. But he had them all.
He was an international chicken judge and traveled all over the United States and Canada and Hawaii and judged chickens.
He just,
That's just crazy.
well, see what else he did. Well, I was gonna tell you, with his hatchery, he had flocks all over Surrey County that he would go out and check the roosters and the hens and cull them. And
Okay.
then he would, you get rid of the culls, and then you could sell him eggs. You give it a dime or something, a dozen more for premium for your eggs. So our folks had the Buff-Orpington flock that he made money off of us there already then already.
There we go. See how it goes? And you and your brothers, the Schulzes over there, they farmed, and you were from west of Goner, right?
A couple miles west of there.
And all you Schultz boys kind of blazed your trail too, didn't you?
I don't know.
Yeah, because you've been great members of Seward counties over the years. You've been in the melodrama over in Goner, and that is Midwest. That's known throughout the Midwest. You guys have worked with that. You have one brother that has worked in real estate.
Yeah.
And you worked with seed corn too, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. 1947, we raised our first seed fields. At the University of Nebraska. We bought the male corn 10 cents a kernel, and the female corn 15 cents a kernel. And we had 45 acres of seed with Nebraska certified. And then we picked it by hand and put it in a ring, and when they had time to bag it, they would grade it and bag it in Lincoln. We'd shell the corn and take them a load, and then when we come home, we had 550 bushel of seed corn. And you don't just sell 550 bushel of seed corn overnight, you know. So we, after that, we did that for 1 year, and then after that, we started growing for different companies.
For
where
bigger,
they come and get the seed. And
There, yeah.
so that worked out, so we've been raising seed ever since, yeah.
I've been looking for price range here, and this was when Dad was on the farm and had he was raising chickens then, and here they've got some ducks that were $5 for 11 of them.
Oh
I
my.
don't know what year this was.
And what we forget, and what I learned reading in my books today, is that we hardly ever have duck for a meal now, except up in by Dwight. But it used to be very common, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Duck and goose and chicken was very common.
Well, and I think up in the Czech communities, they have a lot of duck dinners.
Duck and dumpling, have you heard of that?
So, I think we might have everything that we want to, unless have you got anything that you might want to add that's just, these memories, this is tremendous information.
Do you want us to leave these pictures with you?
We'll talk about that a little bit more. Anything else that we need to get recorded here? Any good questions?
Well, I don't know, well, I think we'd have been in the legislature for a couple of years, wasn't it?
You will?
Served in the legislature for a couple of years, right?
Well, good.
You got quite a bit of living done in those 46 years, haven't you?
Oh, you lost him. He was only 46 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And for heaven's sake.
He had gone to Lincoln for surgery, and it said his intestines were all inflamed. And the surgeon told my mother that they just could not remove any of that intestine or he would die.
Okay.
And then he developed blood clots, and they had no penicillin, and they had no blood clot medication. And so what he actually died of was the blood clots.
Sure. My stars, and you are right. That guy did a lot of living in 46 years. He got a lot accomplished. So I want to thank you two so much for your time. This is one of the best things I've ever been involved in, so this is just great.
Sounds like you're going to have a lot of fun ahead of you.
I think it's just gonna be wonderful, so thank you guys.